Thank you, Adara. Like Adara mentioned, my name is Mindy Chipman, and on behalf of the entire ACLU of Nebraska team, we are deeply grateful that you've all taken time out of your day to be here with us today to celebrate the past 60 years of the ACLU of Nebraska. I see many familiar and new faces here tonight. And what that tells me is we've been extremely fortunate in having so many supporters of our work over the past 60 years and how important that work has been. But it also tells me that the work remains vital. There's more work to do, and I'm excited to move forward together with everyone here in this room. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for believing in us, and thank you for sharing this special evening with us. And again, thank you to Clover 24 for hosting and sponsoring us here tonight. It wasn't until I joined the ACLU team, and in fact, I went to a conference with my friend and colleague, Jason Whitmer, about ending solitary confinement, where I learned how powerful it can be when you merge art and activism together. And so tonight, this is a microcosm of artivism. So please enjoy not only our remarks, and not only our company, but make sure to explore this space and the powerful art that's contained within it. So I've been with the ACLU for about 4 years, and at times I still pinch myself in disbelief that I'm a part of this organization and that I'm a part of an incredibly talented team. And I'm gonna ask for your grace because I'm feeling extra emotional, so just bear with me because I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going through it. Growing up vulnerably, I have to admit that I didn't know much about the ACLU. I knew what the acronym meant, American Civil Liberties Union. I knew that there were lawyers involved in some way, shape, or form. I knew that they obviously advocated for our civil rights and our civil liberties. But what I didn't know is that the work of the ACLU of Nebraska allowed me to access abortion care as a Nebraska teenager when I needed it the most. What I did not know was that the work of the ACLU of Nebraska helped people like my father access medical care and the ability to practice his religion while he was incarcerated. And it wasn't until I went to law school that I realized that the work of the ACLU Nebraska didn't just help me and my family, but it literally helps every single Nebraskan. And it wasn't until I joined the ACLU team myself before I realized the brilliance and courage and dedication of the team, the board, our co-counsel, other volunteers, and partners and allies in this work, and everything it takes to make this work happen on a daily basis. Now, in preparation for today's event, we've been researching the ACLU of Nebraska's history, and when I helped with that research, what struck me is how our origin and the work that we did in the early years of ACLU of Nebraska mirrors the work that we're doing today. This work is generational, and let me just give some examples that we found in our research. In our first few years, we were in the North Omaha community distributing Know Your Rights information regarding police interactions. And we were still there in North Omaha calling for police reform after the shooting of Vivian Strong, who was a 15-year-old black youth person who was simply leaving a party. Decades later, unfortunately, in 2020, we were similarly there calling for justice for James Scurlock, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many individuals that should still be here with us today. As early as the 1970s, the ACLU of Nebraska worked alongside LGBTQ Nebraskans to build power, challenge unfair laws, and advocate for equality before the law. This year, we helped mobilize Nebraskans against anti-trans legislation, supporting our state senators' efforts to stop those bills. Several of those lawmakers are here with us tonight. We found a case in our past from 1995 where we sued law enforcement after law enforcement officers surrounded a private home in Blair, Nebraska, trying to prevent a young woman from accessing abortion care. That work still continues today to ensure that people can make their own reproductive health decisions free of political interference and intimidation. And some of our most earliest cases were on behalf of young men who were denied access to education simply because of the length of their hair. Now, these early clients may have looked something like Ringo, John, Paul, and George, but decades later, we've been at work protecting all students' rights to be themselves at school, using education, litigation, and legislative advocacy to protect students with natural hair, protective hairstyles, headdress, and regalia. So as the core parts of our mission remain the same, I'm really happy to report that our impact has grown. 1 year after our formation, so in 1976, we had 250 ACLU of Nebraska members. Today, we have more than 6,300 members. In addition to our membership, we have 80,000 supporters of our work in Nebraska, and these are people who have signed up to take action in support of our work. But this progress has not been linear, and we've had challenges. We found a headline from 1992 that says, Nebraska Civil Liberties Union cuts back. And what we learned at that time, we had a half-time executive director and one student intern who was working in exchange for college credit. And at that time, that executive director, who again was a 0.5 FTE, told reporters that he thought Nebraskans were not as interested in advocacy and activism as they were in the 60s and the 70s. And he said he thought that Nebraskans had lost that fire in their belly. Well, I think what we can say and look at each other with confidence and say tonight is that the fire is back. And today, the ACLU team consists of 13 staff members, in addition to some phenomenal law clerks, interns, fellows, contractors, phenomenal board members, volunteer attorneys, and supporters across the state who reach out to us to support their activism efforts and try to plug into the work that we're doing on a daily basis. People in this room have made this work possible. Our national ACLU network, including the National ACLU Board President, Deborah Archer, has made this work possible. And likely more than anything else, our clients. Our clients over the past 60 years have made this possible. Their courage and their refusal to let abuses of power be the final word inspire me every day. So, thank you all for being here, for your support. And again, we're so grateful to be in this work with everyone in this room, particularly in this moment in time. And I'm going to pass it back to Adara.